Good morning, everyone.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, good morning.
The whole mute unmute thing keeps providing challenges for me somehow. How is everyone?
We moved. In is relative.
Doing well, and yourself?
I am doing well, thanks. Kelly, good to see you. Thanks for your email this morning.
Good morning. Good to see you too.
It's nice to see so many
actually
faces
talk
again.
and see you today. I can actually talk and see you today.
Yay, yay. Were you having difficulties last time? Oh yeah, that's right.
I was on my old computer and I had no camera or microphone. So.
Oh, that's not fun for me, especially. I got to talk. If you can't see me, I at least have to talk. I'm multitasking. I'm getting a few emails that people didn't have the link, so pardon me while I multitask. So is everyone working next week, or do you have the week off? What's the typical?
We work until Tuesday afternoon.
All right.
Yeah, and I work until Monday afternoon. So I get one more day.
Nice, nice. Give it a couple more minutes to see who else joins us. All righty. I like to get things started on time because I value you taking the time to be here this morning. I know some of you were on a call on the 1st, and I sent an email out late last night that some of this is going to be a repeat of what you talked about earlier. And pardon me, I truly appreciate you being here because I know the co-op folks can really provide some history and guidance about some things. So let me get my PowerPoint up and share screen. There we go. All right, so what I've got on the agenda this morning is a little different from, we're not going to be in the weeds as much as we were on the first. So we're going to talk about looking towards 2021. And let me just tell you, I am so freaking ready for 2021. Hang on, now I'm trying to see if I'm recording. Da, da, da. Sorry, guys. Okay, it looks like it is recording. So you guys know I was sick that week of the first that you guys met. Strep throat and sinus infection. Woo! Now I have the flu. So I am so ready for 2021 to get here. And I know everyone else is too. I'm thrilled to know we do have some of the vaccines for COVID already in the state. So that is wonderful news to help keep us healthy in the coming months. I'm going to talk a little bit about the survey that we did, a little bit of follow-up, and answer any questions you guys have, obviously, throughout the meeting. Talk about the monthly meetings we have set up through May and the training topics that I'm planning for us to do. So if you have suggestions, I'd rather do this first, or can we talk about that? I can arrange for those speakers as well. So, and then every time we meet every month, I want to have an updates from the field. And I know this is new, but I really value creating a relationship back and forth. It's not just DCTE out. I want to hear what's going on with you guys, successes you've had, challenges you've had, anything that you want to share and help each other with. So then obviously at the end we'll have questions. So the first thing I have is we had some questions about when program approval information was going to come out. And we'll send those out the first part of January. The process for that is in October, we get the course pull, and then the program coordinators here at the state level review those, ensure that all the courses that are needed for programs of study are being taught, just checking all the boxes and ensuring we're doing what needs to be done. And then once that's all happened, it goes back out to you guys to make sure you know where things stand. So look for those just after the first of the year. We also just went through our startup grant review process here at the state. Obviously, this was my first round, and it was really fun to watch the program coordinators advocate for programs and ensure that we've got a good cross section across the state of where programs are offered. So those announcements are going to come through a commissioner's memo in January of 21 as well. Excuse me. One of the things that you have asked for previously is training on how to interpret those, the CTE consortium report on performance measures for concentrators. Is that a long enough title? So Jennifer and I are working on that, and we will get that posted on our YouTube channel by January 8th. So Jennifer, I hope you're ready to come up to my house and do some voiceover or something. Just kidding. The other thing is that you've asked for a frequently asked questions section to be added to our website. So again, Jennifer, she's not the only one that works, I promise, but she's the one that's working on creating that list of questions. We're taking some from the survey responses that you guys gave us as well as things that come up in these meetings, have come up previously, and we'll get those loaded on the website at the start of the year. And we're also working on creating that Google Doc of frequently asked questions that you guys suggested. We have sort of a living document. As questions come up, you can post them, reply within the group, we'll post answers, and so on. Any questions about the start of the year? Okay, so let's talk about the survey. I've got something in the chat, Apparently I cannot share my screen and see the chat.
Hey, Lydia, Dawn
Yes.
Stewart asked if the state startup grant notifications for non-funded would be announced as well.
That is a good question. Yes. The ones that didn't request funding, or the ones that were applied for, requested funding, and were not funded. I'm so sorry, I cannot find my chat.
She's asking, will the new program approval non-funded notifications be included within the same memo?
I'm not sure if it'll be in the same memo, but I will be sending out the spreadsheet with the approved, all the 2021 approved programs of study to y'all in January. So I'm not sure that it'll be in the memo, but you will get that list from me. So.
Thanks, Jennifer. Okay, maybe she is the only one that works.
No, I am not. Lydia's working with the flu. So.
It's all good. It's all good. Jennifer, I still can't see the chat. Oh,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. I can monitor that. I did send a message to you to make sure. Can everyone access our Google Drive? Are you able to find where we're putting the recordings of these meetings and things like that? Do we have any trouble with that?
Is anyone having issues getting to the Google Drive? Okay, we'll take that as a no. And if you want to shoot us an email, excuse me, I think I sent that link out when I first started, but I'm not 100%. So if we need to resend it, that's absolutely doable. So just let us know. So back to the survey, and I'll make my screen large again, Jennifer, if you'll monitor the chat for us. So we did have 35 respondents out of 52 of you, which is a pretty darn good response rate. The things that you asked us about for training, and I loved this because you all listed some things that I didn't even know I needed to know. So thanks again for helping educate me. Finance probably was the biggest concern, and you can see data and assessment was as well. But in terms of finance expenditures, what the fiscal year means in terms of expenditures, the differences between Perkins 5 spending and other federal programs, purchasing, allowable and unallowable. So finance is what I have planned for our first 2 training sessions, January and February. And we'll have Jan Cook, is that right? Is that her last name? Jennifer, okay, thank you. We'll have Jan helping us with that in January and February. So if there are things other than what are on that list, let me know either now or in an email so I can make sure we're telling her the things that you most want to get training on and talk about. If you have examples of things that you've had to ask us questions about in terms of finance, let us know that prior as well so I can pass that along to Jan. We want to make sure what we're doing is what you guys need rather than us just rambling on about what we think you need. So finance is the first one. The next one was several people talked about just getting some basic help on writing a strong Perkins project proposal, and giving some examples and those kinds of things. So I think I'm going to reach out to a couple of folks to ask if you might help do some of that training for us, people that have lots of expertise and have had success. So the startup grants was another issue that was a question. Curriculum was kind of a broad request. So I'll dig back into the survey responses, but if you have something more specific in terms of curriculum that you'd like training on, let me know and we'll get that taken care of. Data and assessment was the other really big thing, and I get it because there is a whole lot of data and a whole lot of people asking for different types of data. So I've talked with Denise Irola up at Fayetteville to help us with that. She's more than happy. And I'm excited about DIS, Information Services, being able to help us with the placement stuff and other information to ensure that we've got access to more databases to get some accurate information. Questions about that? Are there other things on the survey that you were wanting to hear from us about? You're making me nervous because you're quiet.
Do you do anything with technical assistance visits and stuff like that?
In terms of doing a training of what that looks like, Natasha?
Yes, and documents and if
Okay.
it's virtual, and when is the schedule, you know, who's coming to when and stuff like that.
Okay. I am obviously making a note, and I'll put that on the list that's something we also need to do some information and training on.
And
So-
broadly, Lydia, we can just share, you know, of course, we've transitioned from the technical assistance visits time where it was every 5 years by certain co-op rotation. And, you know, we're transitioning to a desk audit type format where things will just be uploaded. We have almost all of that finalized, and we'll roll out that process in the spring of what the desk audit process will be. Things will be uploaded into Industar, which is something that the Department of Education uses often for Industar. So it has where districts can go in and put files in very easily and seamlessly. So we'll have a very clear list about what would be uploaded, and that'll just be a regular routine on a yearly basis, just like you would. And that way, you know, 5 years, it's hard to keep track of things, but if we're doing it just as a yearly quick upload your minutes and your agendas, and just really making it as easy as possible. And then really in the compliance, quote, air quotes, in the compliance technical assistance mode, we heard back loud and clear how disruptive those technical assistance visits were. You had to have boxes of stuff. You had to have administration available, teachers available. You know, it just really took up a lot of time and space in the school day. And so we heard that, and really in that compliance mode coming into the school, the only time we would do that moving forward after just doing this desk audit process where you just upload your things that are federally required, then we would only come if we considered something a high risk. So we'll have like a score sheet, and the coordinators will go through and do scoring. And if there's a high risk with us, it also feeds into the public school accountability into their high risk. And so we would only be looking at those things that truly are a high risk, where we would have to come in that compliance mode. So what the team is gearing up for is, how do we come out to schools in a way that is a support visit and not in a, we're coming with at you because of compliance issues or compliance things. So how can we be there? So we don't know what we'll call those yet. We're still kind of talking about what that might be. And I think it would just be on as requested, you know, just, you know, how that will be, but staff will be free to get out to schools, to be able to be, again, in more of that help mode instead of coming where it's a overly compliant thing. Because really, if you're uploading all of the documentation we need federally, you know, there may be visits to come out to look at inventory and things like that. And that would just be like a quick check if we need to do any checks on inventory and location and things like that. So long story short of that overview, we will be implementing that and giving all the details about how the Industar, all of those components will work. It's taken us quite a while to get Industar set up, to get all the forms created in Industar. So a lot of it will be pre-fillable. And so you'll be able to just fill in, pre-fill, and then upload that document with it. And we'll definitely have trainings, and we'll probably include like the Industar people on that, just if you may or may not be familiar with Industar as a platform, so that we get both the coverage of training of the Industar and then also the training from us on what to prepare to make sure, like kind of a check sheet of what you'll know you need to upload. And we already kind of have that check sheet uploaded in Industar, so it's already one of the documents that are there, and then you can just go and do a quick check and go, okay, these are the things I'll need to handle each year for quick terms. So it's taken us a while to get there, and I know everybody's been anxious because we haven't had those old style visits, and they were just such an ingrained thing of that rotation of every 5 years. So we hope in the end it'll end up being where you're really pleased with what that process is. And the only thing we need that documentation for, again, is we're really trying to cut back. If it's federally required, we want to do it, of course, but if it's not, why are we doing things over and above in this heavy compliance hand? So stay tuned, and those details will come more. So I think as Lydia is talking about setting up a training, that'll probably be in this early spring time, but that'll fall on the calendar, talking about the new style of our desk audits, and then what the process will be for visiting schools. And, you know, we may end up where we have it just again, by request, but we'd love your feedback because we want to figure out what's the best way to support you in your school. You know, it could be that Lydia comes to visit or Zooms, and then have staff to go, or a team goes. We're really open, really open and flexible what that needs to look like on just the support piece of it. Okay, sorry, Lydia, I didn't mean to hijack.
No, please jump in. Thank you so much. Dr. Kramers has such a vast knowledge of all the workings at DCTE and the Department of Ed. So I truly appreciate you jumping in. And Natasha, that was kind of a quick training right there. So that's a bit of good news that, you know, our focus really is, and Dr. Kramers has said that more times than I can count in the short time I've been here, we're here to support you and ensure that the students of Arkansas have the best opportunities for this training and development, so they become part of the workforce and get the education and skills that they need. So truly our desire is to be a support wherever we can. So thank you so much, Dr. Kramers. Were there other questions about the survey follow-up? All right. So as I said earlier, we have scheduled those Zoom meetings through May of this year, and obviously we'll continue to schedule those further out. I wanted to make it a chunk that I could deal with at this point and kind of get us through this academic year. And in the spring, I'll get us scheduled through next academic year. We're going to continue to hold those the second Tuesday of the month from 8:30 to 10. That's when the majority of people said the time would work for them. I will be recording those meetings, and we'll get them transferred so you can get them at your convenience. Pardon me. Training topics, as I said, Finance 101 and 102. Those are just my titles. Those are not CTE courses. They are not credit bearing. That is just for us. The data information, and I only have one session for that. That might bleed into two, just depending on what Denise tells us she needs. There were questions about concurrent scholarships, and I have had a quick conversation with the Division of Higher Ed about what we need in terms of training for that. And then the Perkins project proposals, and we may be able to add the state startup with the Perkins proposal. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to talk with some other people here and make sure that we're covering all the things that need to be covered. So as I said earlier, are there topics that you would prioritize over these topics, things that you are really chomping at the bit to need? And it may not be that we do it during the Zoom meeting. You know, as I said, Jennifer and I are working on that one training that we will record and make available to you on YouTube. There may be some things that are hot topics for you right now. Is there something that I should add to the list?
Lydia, there was a great suggestion by Karen to have a session to possibly talk about PD ideas that the coordinators can do for their local districts. So at the co-op level, what type of PD and trainings could there be?
Okay.
And so I think that's a great idea. We could talk through some different ideas. And if there are any of the coordinators that that's your jam and you're super good at that, we'd love to work with you on that. And maybe we can team up together to be able to share some great ideas with the other coordinators for that training. So thank you, Karen, for that suggestion. I think that'd be a terrific.
Awesome. Awesome. Anything else? All right. As I said, there wasn't a whole lot this morning on our agenda, but I didn't want to miss the chance for us to all be together. I've heard from several of you many times that simply having an opportunity to be together virtually at this point is beneficial. And so I want to always have opportunities for us to talk about what's happening in your world that you think could help the other coordinators, things that you've had successes with and are really excited to share, things that you've stumbled over and want to help other people avoid that. And then any discoveries. Have you found a website that you were like, who knew this was even there? Software, a person that's an expert in a field that is just falling over themselves to help us. So tell us what's happening in your world. What's going on out there in the field? Okay, when I taught, this is when I would tell my students, this is the part where you participate. So
I think we're all in survival mode. Our teachers are really, this COVID has really taken a toll on every single thing. It's just, we're just, you know, trying to make it every day.
we absolutely get that. Go ahead.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Great Rivers. We're just doing our best to go day to day, make sure everything's good, trying to stay in touch with my teachers, make sure that they're safe and happy as much as they can be. I'm with her. It's just COVID has just turned this year upside down, and it's unlike anything we've ever seen. And we're just trying to do the very best we can to offer training without actually being together. Getting better with Zoom, even though I've got almost a year on it now. I mean, it's just weird times. But hey, Christmas is going to be here. 2021 is going to be better. Just trying to keep morale up and everybody happy and smiling. That's about it.
Amen.
So Ronnie, do you go by Ronnie K? I know you wanted that in your email, but do you go by Ronnie or Ronnie K?
I go by Ronnie K, so people know I'm a girl. That started in college. When there would be 300 in class, they'd say Ronnie Smith, and I'd say, I'd raise my hand, and they'd say, "Well, maybe you got the wrong person." I said, "No." So my daddy, I guess, wanted a boy.
Were they accusing you of signing in for someone else to do their test or something?
I was beginning to wonder.
Yeah. So Ronnie K, what have you said you're just kind of in survival mode and going day by day. Have you found something that helps you with that?
Just keeping in contact with the teachers, seeing what they need. Because I do 10 different programs at our school. So I'm in constant contact with people and just keeping in contact with people as much as possible. Let them know I'm available.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely important, especially now that need for human interaction. I mean, that's one of our core needs as people. So I think when you can keep in contact, even if it's virtually, you have a sense that you aren't completely alone in this world, that there are other people that are on the same path and have the same goals as we do.
Hey, Dr. Lydia, this is Sheena over in Searcy. Ronnie K, how in the world are you? I haven't seen you forever. But
Well, I'm fixing to head to Little Rock to take my husband to the cardiologist, so I'm heading out.
I'll
right.
wave
Thanks
at you as you go by, Ronnie K.
Thanks for being here, Ronnie K. I appreciate it.
The only thing I was going to offer to the group, I mean, I'm obviously new to this role this year. For me, it's just kind of having that heads up, a couple of as much as in advance as possibly can. I'm sure, like everybody, our calendars just kind of fill up, and you know, if there's some deadline that you guys know at CTE that everybody's already in the know of, the newbies are kind of, you know, if we could have that heads up, get ready because this is coming, I think that would help us as much as anything. And I just want to say, Dr. Kramers, I haven't had the pleasure to meet you, but just the short time that I've interacted with Dr. McDonald, she has been so helpful and just very friendly and very receptive to emails. And I just want to say thank you guys for the job that you do.
Well, thank you so much for that, and welcome to the family. We're glad to have you with us, and I know Lydia just is working diligently. So you know, it's a hard position to hold. It really is. This is probably one of our toughest positions. You know, they're all take a lot of time and effort, but this is the tough one. The questions are really, really good, and so I appreciate that feedback, and I know Lydia, Dr. McDonald does as well.
And if I might add one other thing, Amanda, I saw your message in the chat. Yes, Amanda, you too have been really good. She works with our federal coordinator, and so we just kind of tag team everything. And every once in a while, you know, Christine will say to me, I don't know if you need this or I need this. And we just kind of share with each other, and we just appreciate all that you do. So thanks again.
That's great. Thank you for that. And I was going to mention, we have a good list of questions that we're working to prepare. There was quite a few, and we're trying to frame which ones were similar. And we will be asking those questions to Octay, some very, very good questions, and really just trying to rethink everything when we're answering a question. We really are trying to parse out what is federally required, or is this just a historical thing that's always been done a certain way. And what I really am trying hard to do is not have anything more restrictive than what's federally required at the state level. And so we're working to get some of those answers back. I think that will be really helpful. And, you know, sometimes it takes us a little bit of time. So we super are appreciative of your patience as we really work through to try to get those answers vetted. And sometimes, like when you frame it, we want to frame it in the right way so that we're not trying to set up an answer a certain way. The Octay staff are fabulous, and usually they see the same questions over and over from states. So usually they shoot it straight. They go straight to code or to federal legislation specifically, which is extremely helpful to us, and try to make it clear where there are flexibilities and then where there are not flexibilities. Two reminders that I have just off the top of my head. Of course, one of them is we've been giving some reminders all along the way, but today is the deadline on the reimbursements from State Startup from last year. So if your school did receive a State Startup grant, just remember to get all those State Startup, the reimbursement documentation in today. And if there is some extenuating circumstance, please be sure to communicate with state staff. We know that there was at least one school that their computers were back ordered because of COVID. And so we understand you can't control some situations like that, but just communicating with us is extremely important, just so we can document and help give ideas or suggestions, or at least have that documentation.
Dr. Kramers, that was my school.
Okay.
and I still have a question, because I received an email yesterday. I turned everything in, and now the program director is asking for a tentative date of arrival for those computers. And we've contacted the company, and I'm not sure we're going to have a date per se. They don't want to put a date out there because they don't want, us to come to them and say, hey, you gave us this date. And if they don't make that, any suggestion there? I did talk to my tech guy this morning and ask if we could get an answer today. But any suggestions on that?
Well, we were talking about that yesterday afternoon, actually. At the end of the day, the office was really quiet and we were trying to brainstorm together on that because we get, like we have to definitely be concerned about the fiscal year. And so then, there's no guarantee about that. So we were even thinking, are there options where the type of specs for those computers, could those potentially shift so that there is something more available? Because, we have those specs that were newly suggested by the digital learning team and the IT specialists across the state on those specific specs. But if you ordered specifically on that, if there's any flexibility from the company to say, do you have something very similar that is available? That was one thing that we thought about because, those were just kind of that standard set of specs that were recommended again. But it's, in a situation like this, if it's going to help you get what you need, could those be tweaked some, and we could have documentation due to COVID.
Well, and our tech director said that the vendor is looking for a comparable product.
Perfect.
So
That'd be perfect.
I guess we're parallel there on thought process there.
Yeah, that's great. So we'll
Okay.
just keep working with you. Just
Okay.
Stay in communication, and we know kind of that situation. So that's
Thank
awesome.
you so much.
You
Thank
betcha. The other, let's see, it was state startup reimbursements and, oh shoot, I should have wrote it down while I had those two things in my head of the other thing that was that was coming up. Reimbursement deadline. We are working on all of the stats for the state startup for this year's set of applications. We're super excited. They are, it's not a finalized list yet. We have to present the proposed everything with leadership and talk through with them. But it's geographically distributed across program area, across the state. So we're super excited about the grants that were able to be funded. And if in case I haven't shared, we went to, in our legislative language coming up for this session, we're requesting an increase to state startup. We haven't had a state startup increase over the 2.37 million in over a decade. And so the ADE leadership was super supportive of helping to get that legislation put there. So let's cross our fingers and hope that that gets increased, because we would love to be able to fund all of them. It's really hard when you get down to applications where there's just like same points, similar points, a half a point, it's really, really a hard thing to do. But we are excited about how much we were able to spread them across the state of Arkansas. And we'll have that information coming out. We're on good target to release that in January as promised. So just be watching for that coming out. And Lydia, I'm trying to think of what the other thing is. Now the CAR report is supposed to be due. That's on our end, not your end, except for, this year, I know you've worked on helping to prepare some of the data to submit. And we're just very fortunate. We have very little we have to report this year as far as the performance measures. Don't have to report any of the academic measures, but we are looking at more like concentrator enrollment and things like that. I think Lydia has shared that with you. But there's a lot of narrative that goes in that. So we'll be working on our end to make sure we get that drafted and share that with the other areas for review within the department, because we want to make sure, as it's federally required, to align with ESSA and WIOA. So we want to make sure that there's multiple eyes on the CAR report. So there is an opportunity for us to ask for an extension, and we might be asking for that so that we can have a little bit of extra time on the narrative piece of it. The data we've got, but the narrative will need a little bit more time, I'm feeling. Let's see. So Lydia, if you have anything else, and I'm going to try to, dang it, think about what the other
upcoming
thing was.
Scratching my head. At this point, I'm I'm in the weeds in the forest, and I could just see this far in front of me. So because Sheena, just like you, this is my first rodeo for CTE. And so when you said, if you can let me know when things are due and what's coming up, I'm like, yeah, I'm right there in the boat with you. I keep going, okay, what's next? What, and trying to put those things that I need to do 6 months down the road, 3 months down the road, so I can kind of work towards them. So I get it, needing to know what's coming up next. And that is something, again, Jennifer and I are both, as things are coming up or we're hearing program coordinators say, oh yeah, the such and such so-and-so is coming up. We're creating that master list for us, and then to share with the field those that are, pertinent to what you guys do, because when people have been doing something for 3, 4, 5, 10 years, 20 years, however long, it's just, they know that's the cycle. So it's good. As Dr. Kramer said, being able to look at things and say, is that really a federal requirement, or is this just one of those historical, it's been done that way, and so we just do it. So I think that's one of the positives when new people come in to any position is being able to ask those questions. And thankfully, we have leadership that is open to that. So
that's great. And I think supporting each other is so important, because, Lydia is newer, and I absolutely don't have all the answers. I have to call a friend, and so, we're all in this together. And I would just remind everybody that I think, Lydia, you sent out the list of the coordinator contact information with all the coordinator list.
Yes.
And so especially the ones that are, I think you have them in red. We need to think of a friendlier color than red, but you've got the coordinators at the 15. It's not, you didn't do it. It's been that's one of those, it's been that way forever. They've been in red on that list. But those that are at the co-ops, most of the CTE coordinators that are at the 15 co-ops have been there for a long time. There's such great experience there. And, you could probably get an answer more quickly from some of your colleagues than even the state office. And so I definitely encourage you to lift up and talk with each other. And then where people aren't sure what an answer is collectively, that's where we can go and vet through federal and all of that. But there's so much rich experience with our coordinators, and not just the 15 especially, but we have so many that have been doing it for a long time, and we value the expertise that you bring, because you've listened to Bruce Dean 1,000 times, and you've been through so many of the different conversations so many times. And it's funny, we did have the recent Bruce Dean conference, and I think he sounds totally different this year than he did when he came to the Heifer Center the last time for that last CTE training. His tone has changed, and he's always been so strictly compliance and scare you to death about everything. And like there was a huge aha, and I think everybody, Jennifer, I walked into the room and I said, did that blow your mind what he said today on the call? And Jennifer was like, psh. So like one of the things he said is consumables are allowable. Consumables haven't been allowable forever and a day, from what my understanding is. It's been on every list. It's not allowable. And then he was saying somehow that spread across the whole country. No state allows consumables, but federally you can have consumables. So be watching for that. That's going to be in the new updated on the allowable, unallowable list. How those things happen and perpetuate, don't know. I mean, it's been around for so long, but that's the exciting thing, is kind of hearing how you really dig in and say, why is that interpreted that way? And there are some things that are very cut and dry. And even the conversation about curriculum, Lydia, we'll have to make sure we get the federal language on curriculum, because there is some very specific federal language on curriculum.
Okay.
But things that are, where it's just, again, it's just, let's clarify the things that are just because it's always been that way. And that one just, I think every one of us just went and spun around in our chair and went, what? We can? Oh my goodness. So very, very, very good. And Lori, I see your chat. Thank you for mentioning that. We still have a few We still have a few coordinators we're trying to nail down potential dates. Lydia, you might just follow up again with a few you might not have heard potential dates back from for us to share with Christine.
We have all of them now. That
We have all of
last.
them. Okay, so okay, so just a heads up for what's coming. In the springtime, we're going to be hosting through regional, through the CTE coordinators at the co-ops are helping to host these regional trainings with Bruce Dean. And so we're going to have him pipe in, and you'll have the option to either come in person to your regional meeting, or you can Zoom in. We want to have that option for both because we do want to keep it COVID safe, but everybody will be provided a copy of the latest, the newest hot off the press. It's purple this year. You know, every year they change the color. It's been black, orange, whatever, blue, all the different colors. But this is the Administrator's Edgar new book. And we've already kind of walked through a little bit of it. You can see a few flags, and he'll go through where you can mark up your book, talk through what some of the newest changes, like the whole consumables thing. I'm sure he's going to bring up that with, and so that'll be an opportunity where thank you so much to the CTE coordinators that are helping to organize those for their region. And there'll be other things on the agenda that day besides Bruce Dean, but we want to make sure to support that so that all CTE coordinators can hear from him on just the latest updates and changes with Perkins 5. Perkins 5 did change quite a bit of things, and I think he does a really good job just from what we had with the conference of kind of vetting through, you know, what are those things that are based on federal accounting measures versus Perkins. And you know, sometimes it does just get very confusing between those two things. Like there's just federal general accounting practices you have to follow. So it may not be Perkins specific, but it is like the federal piece of it on like finance procedures and the whole policies to follow. So we'll be happy to have that coming up. I think he said he would spend about an hour and a half to 2.5 hours. I believe it's 2.5 hours, 2 hours for content and then time for questions. And so that'll be that piece of the agenda, and then other things again that'll be covered by topic. And it's not everybody all together in one place. You know, COVID has changed the world a little bit right now. So we like the idea of breaking it into regions so we can get that personal touch, get questions answered, and have that training opportunity. So be watching. The dates now that Lydia has from all the coordinators for the region meetings, we'll get that to Bruce Dean to confirm his availability. And then once we get that confirmed from him on his availability, then we'll start sending out save the dates, or the coordinators will through the regions, and then maybe draft agendas. You know, we kind of leave that to them, and our staff will be available at those as well, so that we can be a part of each of them going on. So any questions about that? I know, you know, again, it's free to you. There's no cost. The state is paying for that. So no cost at all to be a part of those regional trainings. So any questions? I can check the chat real quick too.
So if you host in person, you know, like in a building, an auditorium, whatever, I would love to come and be there with you. I know a lot of you have responded that virtual is going to be key at this point, and we absolutely get that. But if you are hosting face-to-face, even if it's, you know, 10 people in the room face-to-face and others are virtual, I'd love to come and be a part of that and be able to see some of you guys in the same room. That'd be kind of awesome.
Okay. Does that idea sound good? I know it's, like I said, it's not the same as everybody getting at Heifer and being able to bring him in person there and all of that, and have the time where we're all together at one time, because you know it is helpful to hear everybody's questions and as a collective group. But again, just logistically, we thought the Zoom would be huge, and it wouldn't have the same impact of being able to break into a little bit smaller groups, have your book, have the opportunity to go in person, possibly if able, and then if not, you know, we want to keep the groups again very small that might be in person, just for safety and following the Department of Health and the CDC guidelines on that. Great. All
Other updates? Successes. Come on, there's some successes out there. Tell me a cool story of something your students have done or one of your teachers has just blown you away with how they've dealt with something.
I've got one from Fort Smith.
Yay!
Our business marketing entrepreneurship teachers got together with the city, the Downtown Association, and during that Global Entrepreneurship Week, we did a pitch competition. And we had 32 students submitted 1-minute pitches for a product. And then we picked the top 10. And then the day of the event, we had the top 3 come in and judges were local entrepreneurs. And the winners, the top 3 were awarded scholarships to the University of Arkansas at Fort Smith. So we had a student win a $2,000 scholarship, a $1,000 and a $500.
That's
That's
huge
awesome.
success. How cool is that?
That was great. It was all about partnerships. I was working with the university and working with the
Exactly.
downtown association. So it was.
Lydia, I have something I want to share.
Yay.
This is Shamika Montgomery in Little Rock School District. Our construction students did a project with for the Little Rock Compassion Center. They're opening a new women's shelter, and the construction students built 4 tables for the Compassion Center, and the materials for the tables were donated by Home Depot. And, you know, Pastor Holloway, who's over the shelter, was very impressed by the work that the students did, and the district made a big deal out of it and gave the students a citation, a superintendent citation for their work. And it was a great project, especially during, you know, the season of giving.
That's wonderful.
Amazing. Woo!
Yes.
Shamika and Gary, I would love to have Patricia, Lydia, if you'll give Patricia a heads up.
Okay.
I'd like Patricia to reach out to them, and we're working to revamp and get our newsletter back out. I think those are 2 fabulous stories we can share with the newsletter. And we work closely with AAEA, and they do their CTE newsletter as well. And we share stories back and forth. So as we hear great things like this, we can help get that in a newsletter and then share it with AAEA to help lift up the cool things happening, because I really appreciate you guys sharing some of those. It's hard to always know what's happening in the field that we search and through. We kind of stalk social media posts sometimes, trying to see what's happening in the district. So that's very cool. And had another question in chat, Cheryl, about Brustein. We now that I know Lydia has that final list, then we have to send those still to Brustein. So we should have that very soon. So stay tuned. We hope to have that finalized and on his availability. Thanks for asking on that.
So I knew, you know, I should have known when I put this question on what's happening in your world, that I should have asked you what your students and teachers are doing, because that's why you guys live and breathe. So are there other cool stories like that that anyone else can share?
Lydia, we're working on a technology fair that we do every year for GT students. And we've actually requested some help from CTE and EAST programs. And those students are actually recording videos that the GT students will get. They're due to me by Christmas break, so the end of this week. But instead of having the kids come here, we're going to share those videos with the kids. So it's kids teaching kids.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And you said that's an annual thing? Oh, sorry, Nicole.
You're good. So it's an annual thing for the GT program. So I'm
okay.
GT/CTE, but yeah.
Okay, thanks. Hi, Nicole.
Hey there. From Cabot, we worked in May, our STEM team, which would be our engineering team, robotics team, our science teachers, just several people who just are committed to STEM across our campus. And we were working on some pieces, not knowing what the future held in May, but we put together a STEM camp, and we geared it towards 5th and 6th graders because we really wanted to plan to do something in August. We also looked at a medical academy camp So we knew that there was a gap in learning for that 9 weeks of lost time back in the spring. So we were trying to find ways to catch our students up or fill that gap. Out of that, the camp never took place, but we still have all of the bones of it that we put together. But it gave our teachers a focus and a piece of camaraderie where they could collaborate and join together. So that was a huge, just positive in working on that, even though the camps didn't come to pass. But we kept working on a STEM night where our STEM club, the team here at the high school, could present things for our middle school. It still has not opened up to allow our high school kids to go into the middle schools, do the presentations. So we finally in October, November decided we would switch and just commit to a virtual STEM night. So that's where we are. Broadcast worked on this 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, and then with so many kids quarantined, our dates were thrown off because some of our key players have been quarantined as far as students go. But bottom line, what we have rolling out this Thursday is virtual STEM geared towards 5th and 6th graders, but it is all comprised of high school students doing what they do here on our campus. So our STEM club, it's heavy on science with the chemistry pieces, but our STEM club, each student picked activities that they wanted to do. We did bring over, a week ago, we brought over 4 middle school students from both of the middle schools. So 8 kiddos were able to come over and participate, mainly educator or administrator kids, because they're like, yes, they're fine. We don't have to worry about get them in there and let's do some activities with them. But the key piece here is that our broadcasting kids, I've got 2 kids in broadcasting, seniors, who have taken the lead on this, and it's totally their production. So broadcasting, the 25 kids in the upper class, they paired up in groups, 2 or 3 broadcasting kids per STEM activity. And they did all of the promos, they did the videos, the interviews, every piece of it. So high school broadcasting team has actually put together the final presentation, and I'll be able to see that in just a few minutes. And then one team of students, they did a commercial for it that will release later this afternoon. So just the collaborative pieces that we've been able to accomplish, even with all of the COVID protocols and limitations, still finding some fun activities for our kids and community.
I love, love, love. You guys had to pivot. I don't know how many times. I was trying to write down every time you said, well, that didn't work, so we did this. And it's not like, oh, it's just not going to work, and people just took their toys and went home. That is so exciting, and to hear about the collaboration with your teachers and your students and getting broadcasting in. That's awesome. And reaching out to the middle school. So you're teaching some leadership skills to your high school students on how to mentor. That's really awesome. Congratulations. See, this is the best part. This is the best part, because as Dr. Kramer said, it's really hard for us, especially now with COVID, that we can't make one or two visits we haven't been able to make to see what's really going on. We can read a paper all day long. It's not the same as hearing you talk about your students and your teachers and the business leaders that are stepping up and really making a difference for our students and Arkansas as a whole. This is the good stuff. This is why we do what we do, and it's hard to not be closer. So thank you so much for painting pictures for us to see what that looks like in your worlds. Any aha moments this last month?
Okay, Lydia.
Yes, sir, Jay.
All right. I've got a plan, and I saw it on an NCLA video, and I really liked it. And we have a problem with our stakeholders and us interacting with our stakeholders and getting information and all that other stuff. And a school somewhere in the country, I think it was Nebraska, or a co-op area, had bought a bunch of GoPro cameras and rigged them up and set them up and put them in the hands of our stakeholders. And our stakeholders would go around and do videos about them doing their actual jobs in their workplace. And then the videos were collected back, and the teachers and students in the individual schools would create videos showing how these stakeholders' jobs worked, what they did, and all that other stuff. Since we can't bring the stakeholders into our schools and all like we would like, I'm going to have a project ready by the 4th of January doing this. I want to see if it'll work and if we can get GoPro cameras into our stakeholders' hands and if we can bring the businesses into the schools. And that would actually work virtually too, because they could put the videos online for any students that are out in Never Never Land. Anybody got any ideas on this? What do y'all think of that idea?
I think Emily Turner in North Central Co-op, they've done a really good job of something similar without like the GoPros and all of that, but they do stakeholder and industry tours by Facebook Live. And that way it's just your own phone. There's no additional equipment that you use it for this project or, that's really not a specific program of study necessarily. So maybe, the Facebook Live where the stakeholder has like a mini live social media event. And of course, those are available after the live event is over, where you can walk through an industry, you could walk through a local business, you could interview a business professional. And I think ACTE set up kind of like a similar local, like through ACTE, where they had a series of Facebook Live events. And you could tune in and you kind of knew ahead of time like what the topic was going to be. So like they featured the different program areas. So you could either feature a local business or, have again, different sectors particular. You could have like a manufacturing night or, like whatever a local important person to your local application that would be, great to feature. So that's just a thought is, the logistics of sending out GoPros and if it's coming back and all that. But I really think using social media, because there's so much it can carry forward, because your GoPro, you got to download that somewhere. Whereas Facebook, it's always there for you and easy access. And students love it as well, because that's kind of the platform they love to be able to see. But that's just a thought.
All right. I think that's all that I had in terms of the guts of the meeting, if you will. So now I can see my chat. There you go. Now I have enough screen. So are there questions, comments, things you thought we should talk about and we didn't? All right. Again, we so appreciate your time and your involvement in what you do on a daily basis to keep things rolling in the state for our students. As always,
we need to come up with a CTE Rockstar dance or salute, like salute. Woo.
Oh,
CTE
okay.
Coordinators, like our CTE Rockstar coordinators. Woohoo.
Well,
it feels
we'll have
like
to
a
get
Monday.
on.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
Like
no,
we're
it's
like,
good. I like it.
That's what happens when you get cooped up too long,
Well, I had that happy dance gift, that little girl that's doing the thing on one of the slides that we edited out. But yeah, the happy dance something. Yeah, there are a lot of rock stars out there. So, yeah. All right. Did we get all the questions answered
so much
that were in the chat? I think so. You were watching those.
I think so, Jennifer. I tried to catch those. I think we did. Thank you all so much for the questions and comments and suggestions through there. That was fabulous.
And I'll make sure, let me copy those before I end the meeting. I'll make sure to copy those. I think they do stay with the video, but we had an issue with that last time. So I'll make sure I've captured those and can post those as well. So, all right. Was there something else?
I was just going to say, I was just thinking about state startup. And last year it was new, we used the the commissioner's memo system, which we'll do that again this year because it formalizes that announcement and gives a place you can always go back and refer to. Would you guys like to do a pre-call right before that commissioner memo goes out?
I'm seeing lots of heads shake.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the only thing that I have felt is I'm sure you guys would probably like to hear before everybody else hears. So, okay, I'm seeing head nods, thumbs up. All right. So we will do a pre-call and go through kind of just so you can see geographically, because we run all these reports, like the geographic distribution, how many applications were sent in, how many were funded of those that did, and then you can kind of see first glance and first knowledge before the general public. So I appreciate that feedback greatly, and let's plan to do it. So our goal is by like the 1st of January. So we'll try to get that save the date calendar item out to you as quickly as possible so you can save that time slot, and we'll record it as well. And I would assume, let's just try to plan for it to be just a quick 30 minutes, like just super short, and we can show the list, basically kind of the draft of the commissioner's memo with all of the funded and all of that. Does that sounds good? Okay, awesome. Thank you guys for that feedback, and we'll plan to do it. We'll get that date, save the date to you. Appreciate you guys.
Everybody have a Merry Christmas and a safe and happy New Year. And we'll be talking to you soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you guys. Bye.